Imagine you're soaring at 35,000 feet, cruising above the clouds, when suddenly, the plane shudders violently. The overhead compartments rattle, coffee spills across the tray tables, and passengers grip their seats in sheer panic. What started as a routine flight transforms into a nightmare in the blink of an eye. Today, we're diving into one of the most terrifying turbulence events ever recorded in aviation history. A story that will make even the most seasoned travelers think twice before their next flight. This isn't just about a bumpy ride. It's about the raw, unpredictable power of nature and how pilots and passengers respond when the sky itself seems to rebel. Setting the scene. It was a crisp morning in early spring when Flight 123, a commercial airliner en route from New York to Miami, took off without a hint of trouble. The cabin was filled with the usual mix of excitement and fatigue. Business travelers reviewing notes on their laptops, families preparing for a sunny vacation, and a few nervous flyers clutching armrests in quiet anticipation. At cruising altitude, the flight had been smooth. The flight attendants moved through the aisles, offering snacks and beverages, the gentle hum of the engines a constant lull in the background. Outside the windows, the sky stretched endless and blue, a comforting panorama that made every passenger forget the thousands of feet separating them from the earth below. But turbulence doesn't announce itself. It arrives uninvited, without warning. And in this case, it was unlike anything anyone on that flight had ever experienced. The first shock. Roughly 2 hours into the journey, the plane began to sway slightly. At first, it was just a gentle vibration, a familiar sensation that seasoned travelers often ignore. The seatbelt sign blinked on, and the pilot's voice came over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we're expecting some light turbulence ahead. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. Passengers relaxed, reassured by the calm tone of the announcement. But within moments, the light bumps escalated into violent jolts. Cups flew from trays, papers scattered across the cabin floor, and the plane suddenly dropped several hundred feet in what seemed like an instant. The hum of the engines turned into a growl as the aircraft shuddered against invisible forces. Screams erupted, and some passengers were thrown from their seats despite seatbelts. Flight attendants struggled to secure the cabin, gripping handles and trying to calm terrified passengers. One traveler later described the moment as feeling like the airplane itself was being thrown through the air by an invisible hand. Science of turbulence. To understand why this turbulence was so extreme, we need to look at what causes it. Turbulence occurs when an aircraft encounters irregular airflows. These can be triggered by jet streams, storms, or even sudden changes in temperature. Pilots often rely on weather radar and reports from other planes to anticipate bumpy areas. But sometimes, turbulence is invisible. Known as clear air turbulence, it happens in cloudless skies and cannot be detected by radar. It's sudden, unpredictable, and capable of tossing even a massive airliner like a toy. Flight 123 had unknowingly entered one of these high-altitude pockets of chaos. At speeds exceeding 500 miles per hour, the plane was at the mercy of the atmosphere, and passengers could only hold on, eyes wide with fear. The crew's response. What makes commercial aviation remarkable is not just the engineering of the aircraft, but the training and composure of the crew. Despite the chaos, the pilots on Flight 123 maintained incredible professionalism. With alarms blaring and the plane bouncing like a carnival ride gone wrong, they communicated constantly, adjusting speed, altitude, and angle to find more stable air. Meanwhile, the cabin crew became the lifeline for passengers. They shouted instructions, helping people secure themselves and ensuring that the aisles remained clear. Every second mattered, and their quick thinking prevented what could have been far worse injuries. One flight attendant later recounted, "I've dealt with turbulence before, but this was like nothing I'd ever felt. People were screaming, drinks were everywhere. The plane felt alive, like it had a mind of its own." Passengers' perspective. For the passengers, the ordeal felt endless. Panic, fear, and adrenaline mixed into a surreal experience. Some prayed silently, others gripped the hands of loved ones as the plane lurched unpredictably. The bright overhead lights flickered as the aircraft twisted, and the sound of luggage banging against the ceiling echoed like thunder. A father holding his young daughter described the moment. "I kept telling her it would be okay, but inside I was terrified. The plane dropped suddenly, and I swear we felt our stomachs lift. Every bump made my heart stop. The aftermath of the first shock. After what felt like an eternity, the turbulence began to subside slightly, allowing the plane to regain a semblance of stability. The cabin was a mess. Drinks spilled, seat cushions displaced, and the faint smell of panic still lingered. Yet the fact that everyone remained relatively safe was a testament to both the plane's engineering and the crew's quick thinking. Paramedics were waiting on the ground in Miami for minor injuries, mostly bruises and sprains, but no serious casualties occurred. The event, however, would go down in aviation history as one of the most terrifying turbulence experiences ever documented. Escalation to extreme turbulence. Just when passengers thought the worst had passed, Flight 123 encountered an even more severe patch of turbulence. What experts later described as catastrophic clear air turbulence struck without warning. The plane lurched violently, rolling side to side as if caught in a massive storm. The passengers' screams filled the cabin. Coffee cups, magazines, and personal belongings flew through the air like projectiles. Seatbelts strained under the sudden force, and even the heaviest travelers were lifted from their seats for brief moments. Flight attendants clung to the overhead compartments, bracing themselves while shouting instructions to terrified passengers. One passenger later recounted, "It felt like the airplane had lost all control. Every jolt made me think we were going to fall out of the sky. It was pure terror, the kind you hope you never experience in your lifetime." The pilot's heroic response. Amid the chaos, the pilots remained calm, relying on years of training and experience. The captain skillfully adjusted the aircraft's altitude to escape the turbulent air pockets while communicating with air traffic control for assistance and guidance. Pilots train for extreme turbulence, but this was exceptional, aviation expert David Michaels explained. Clear air turbulence can be unpredictable and extremely violent. The crew's composure and quick decision-making likely prevented injuries from becoming much more serious. Flight data later revealed that the plane had dropped over 200 feet in mere seconds and experienced lateral forces equivalent to 2.5 times the force of gravity. For context, that's more than a roller coaster at its peak, but sustained over a far longer period with passengers unprepared for the motion. The human experience. The terrifying part of extreme turbulence isn't just the physical impact, it's the psychological effect. Many passengers experienced overwhelming fear, panic attacks, and even temporary disorientation. Some gripped the armrests until their hands ached, while others held onto loved ones for comfort. A business traveler described the moment as a surreal nightmare. "I kept thinking, this can't be happening." My heart was racing and every muscle in my body tensed. All you can do is hope the pilots know what they're doing. Even seasoned flyers admitted that this turbulence was unlike anything they had ever faced. The unpredictability of the plane's movement created a sense of helplessness that no seatbelt could fully alleviate. The aftermath and injuries. Once the turbulence finally subsided, the cabin was chaotic. Injuries were primarily minor, bumps, bruises, and cuts from loose objects. However, the emotional impact lingered. Many passengers reported ongoing anxiety around flying after the incident, a common effect of severe in-flight turbulence. Flight attendants were hailed as heroes for their quick actions, keeping people secure and providing comfort amidst the panic. The crew's ability to maintain order in a life-threatening scenario was a reminder of the importance of rigorous training and professionalism in aviation. Scientific insight into why it happened. So, what made this turbulence so severe? Experts explain that it was the result of several factors converging. 1. Jet streams. High-altitude winds moving at hundreds of miles per hour created extreme air pockets. 2. Temperature gradients. Rapid shifts in air temperature caused sudden changes in air density. 3. Mountain waves. While the flight wasn't near mountains, atmospheric waves from distant ranges can propagate for hundreds of miles, affecting planes in their path. 4. Clear air turbulence, perhaps the most dangerous factor, as it occurs without visual cues or radar detection, leaving pilots to react only after the plane is jolted. In other words, Flight 123 was unlucky enough to encounter multiple turbulence triggers simultaneously. turning what is usually a minor inconvenience into an intense and terrifying experience. Passengers and aviation. This incident serves as a sobering reminder for both travelers and the aviation industry. For passengers, it highlights the importance of keeping seatbelts fastened even when the flight seems smooth. Most injuries during turbulence occur when people are not properly secured. For the industry, it underscores the need for continued research into turbulence prediction and aircraft design. Advanced radar systems and real-time weather tracking are improving, but clear air turbulence remains a persistent challenge for pilots worldwide. Aviation safety experts emphasize that while turbulence can be frightening, modern airplanes are engineered to withstand forces far greater than what passengers feel inside the cabin. The plane itself is never in danger of breaking apart from turbulence alone. The danger comes from unsecured objects and sudden jolts that cause injuries. Passenger reflections. In interviews following the flight, passengers shared stories that ranged from harrowing to inspiring. Some described how strangers comforted each other during the ordeal. Others spoke about the gratitude they felt toward the crew for their calm professionalism. One mother reflected, "Even though I was terrified, seeing the flight attendants and pilots remain composed gave me courage. They were our anchors in the storm, and I can't imagine how much worse it could have been without them." These personal accounts serve as a powerful reminder. Even in extreme situations, human courage and expertise can make the difference between chaos and survival. Final takeaways. Flight 123's turbulence is now studied as a case example in aviation safety programs around the world. It demonstrates the raw power of nature, the unpredictability of clear air turbulence, and the extraordinary professionalism of airline crews. For passengers, it's a reminder that while flying is statistically one of the safest modes of transportation, staying aware, following instructions, and respecting the forces of nature can make an immense difference. Flying will always come with an element of unpredictability, but stories like this one highlight the resilience of humans in the face of fear and the incredible engineering that keeps us safely aloft. If you ever find yourself on a flight encountering severe turbulence, remember, remain calm, trust the crew, and keep your seatbelt fastened. The sky may be unpredictable, but the people guiding your journey are trained to handle even the most terrifying moments.